In the summer of 1974, the sun beat down on Culver City, California, a working-class suburb of Los Angeles, where modest homes lined dusty streets and the hum of daily life carried on unremarkably. The air was thick with the scent of dry grass and exhaust, and the neighborhood's rhythm was one of routine. Children playing in yards, cars rolling by, and families settling into the comfort of ordinary days. But in one small unassuming house on Braddock Drive, something extraordinary was unfolding. Something that would shatter the quiet and leave a mark on the annals of the unexplained. This was the home of Doris Bither, a single mother of 4 whose life was about to become the epicenter of a chilling mystery. Doris was a woman hardened by circumstance. In her late 30s, she carried the weight of a difficult past, broken relationships, financial struggles, and the relentless demands of raising her children alone. Her house was cluttered, its walls stained with the wear of years, and the atmosphere was heavy with the chaos of a family stretched thin. Yet despite the challenges, Doris was fiercely independent, a survivor who faced the world with a mix of defiance and weariness. But in the summer of 1974, something entered her life that no amount of resilience could prepare her for, an invisible force that would turn her world into a nightmare. It began subtly, as if the house itself were holding its breath. Objects moved inexplicably, a glass sliding across the kitchen counter, a door creaking open in the dead of night. The air grew heavy at times, charged with an unseen presence that made the skin prickle. Doris noticed it first, a feeling of being watched, even when she was alone. Her children, ranging from young teens to a small child, sensed it too, though they couldn't articulate what it was. The house, once a refuge, began to feel like a trap, its shadows deeper and its silences more oppressive. At night, the family heard strange sounds, low hums, faint scratches, and sometimes a rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat echoing through the walls. The disturbances escalated in August, when Doris experienced the first of what she would later describe as attacks. She was alone in her bedroom, the children asleep, when the air grew thick and cold. The room seemed to darken, as if the light itself were being swallowed. She felt a pressure, sudden and overwhelming, pinning her to the bed. It was as if an invisible weight had settled over her, crushing her chest and stealing her breath. She struggled, her limbs heavy, her mind racing with panic, but there was nothing to fight against. No figure, no face, just the suffocating force. The assault was brutal, invasive, and terrifyingly real, yet it left no physical marks. When it ended, Doris lay trembling, the room silent once more, the air heavy with an unnatural stillness. The attacks continued, growing more frequent and more violent. They came at night, often when Doris was alone, but sometimes in the presence of her children, who could only watch in helpless terror. The entity, for that was what Doris began to call it, was invisible, yet its presence was undeniable. It left no footprints, no traces, but its impact was visceral. The bed would shake, the air would grow icy, and Doris would be thrown against the mattress, her body contorted by an unseen force. The attacks were not just physical, but carried a malevolent intent, a violation that left her shaken and humiliated. She felt marked, as if the entity had chosen her specifically, its grip tightening with each encounter. Word of the strange events spread beyond the house, whispered among neighbors and friends. Doris, desperate for answers, reached out to anyone who might help. Her story caught the attention of 2 parapsychologists, Barry Taff and Kerry Gaynor, researchers from UCLA with an interest in the unexplained. They arrived at the house in late August, skeptical but intrigued, armed with cameras, tape recorders, and a cautious curiosity. The house greeted them with an oppressive atmosphere, the air thick and the light dim, as if the walls themselves were holding secrets. Taff and Gaynor set up their equipment, intending to document whatever phenomena might occur, but nothing could have prepared them for what they would witness. The first night was quiet, almost disappointingly so. The researchers noted the cluttered state of the house, the tension among the family, and Doris's frayed demeanour. She spoke of the entity with a mix of fear and exhaustion, her eyes darting to the corners of the room as if expecting it to appear. The children, too, seemed on edge, their faces pale and their voices hushed. But as the investigation continued, the house began to reveal its secrets. Lights flickered without cause, and a strange smell, like sulphur or damp earth, filled the air. The researchers felt a pressure, subtle at first, like a weight settling over their shoulders. Then, during a late-night session, the atmosphere shifted violently. Doris was in her bedroom, the researchers watching from a distance, when the air grew cold and the lights dimmed. A low hum vibrated through the room, and the temperature plummeted. Doris's body tensed, her breath coming in sharp gasps, as if something were pressing down on her. The researchers saw nothing, no figure, no form, but the air seemed to ripple, and a faint glow appeared, arcing across the room like a streak of lightning frozen in place. Cameras clicked furiously, capturing what would later become infamous: faint, glowing orbs and streaks of light, images that defied explanation. The session ended abruptly, when Doris collapsed, exhausted and trembling, the entity retreating as suddenly as it had come. The investigation continued for weeks, each visit yielding more evidence of the inexplicable. The researchers documented temperature drops, electromagnetic spikes, and strange lights that appeared in photographs, but were invisible to the naked eye. The children reported seeing shadows moving in their peripheral vision, and one claimed to have been pushed by an unseen hand. The house itself seemed to pulse with energy, its walls creaking and its floors groaning, as if alive. Taff and Gaynor, trained to approach such cases with scientific rigour, found themselves grappling with phenomena that defied their understanding. They hypothesized about poltergeists, psychic energy, or even interdimensional entities, but no theory fully explained the relentless, targeted nature of the attacks. Doris's life unravelled under the strain. The entity's assaults grew more aggressive, leaving her bruised and battered, though the marks were fleeting, fading within hours. She began to withdraw, her once defiant spirit eroded by fear and shame. The children too suffered, their sleep disrupted by nightmares, and their days haunted by the house's oppressive atmosphere. Neighbours, once curious, now kept their distance, wary of the stories emanating from the house on Braddock Drive. The family became isolated, trapped in a home that no longer felt like theirs. Doris tried to flee, moving to a new apartment, but the entity followed, its presence undeterred by walls or distance. By late 1974, the case had drawn attention beyond Culver City. Journalists arrived, their stories painting Doris as both a victim and a curiosity. Some dismissed her claims as delusion, the product of a troubled mind, while others saw her as a woman caught in a supernatural nightmare. The parapsychologists continued their work, amassing data but finding no solutions. They experimented with rituals, religious symbols, and even attempts to communicate with the entity, but it remained elusive, responding only with more violence. The house on Braddock Drive became a focal point for the paranormal community, a place where the veil between the known and the unknown seemed impossibly thin. As winter settled over Los Angeles, the attacks began to wane, though they never stopped entirely. Doris, exhausted and broken, moved again, this time to a small town in Texas, hoping to escape the entity's grasp. The researchers followed her case from afar, noting that the phenomena seemed to weaken with distance, but never fully disappeared. The house on Braddock Drive was eventually sold, its new occupants reporting no disturbances, as if the entity had been tied to Doris herself. The case faded from public view, but its impact lingered, its questions unanswered, and its terror undiminished. Years later, the story of Doris Bither would inspire a film, a fictionalized account that captured the horror but not the full weight of her experience. The house on Braddock Drive stood quietly, its secrets buried in the past, its walls holding no trace of the terror that had unfolded within. Doris herself slipped into obscurity, her life marked by the shadow of those months in 1974. The parapsychologists published their findings, their photographs of glowing arcs and orbs becoming iconic in the world of the unexplained. Yet no one could say what the entity was: a ghost, a demon, a manifestation of psychic energy, or something beyond human comprehension. The entity case remains a chilling enigma, a story of a woman besieged by forces no one could see or stop. It speaks to the fragility of the human mind in the face of the unknown, and to the limits of science when confronted with the impossible. In the quiet of a Culver City night, when the streets are empty and the air grows still, some say the echo of that presence lingers, a reminder that the world holds mysteries that defy explanation, and that some doors, once opened, can never be fully closed.